Okay guys, we're going to do dotted notes, just understanding dotted notes. That is really a great sort of mystery for people. Very often, rhythmically, people miss dotted notes. The concept of a dot is a dot beside a note adds half its value. Okay? So a dot beside a note adds half the value of whatever it's beside. Therefore, if you have a dot beside two different notes, that dot doesn't add the same amount. Okay? It adds half of whatever that note or even a rest. Okay, so here we go. Let's pretend we're in just normal 4/4 time and we know our note values already because we've learned them. This note is worth 4 because it's a whole note. This note is worth 2. It's a half note. This note is worth 1. If I put a dot beside the note, it's going to add half the note's value to it. It's going to make it half again longer. So let's do this guy. Put a dot right beside that note. Instead of a whole note, we call this a dotted whole note. It's going to add half of its value. What's its value? 4. What's half of 4? Please know this. It's going to add 2. So now this is a 6 counts. Right? So a dotted whole note in common time is worth 6 counts. Why? Because 4 is the original value. The dot adds 2 for a total of 6. Pretty easy math. Let's go on to this dude. Half note is worth 2. Let's add a dot beside that note. It's going to add half of the value of it. Well, its value is 2. What is half of 2? It is adding 1. Therefore, the value of a dotted half note is, you got it, 3. All right, those are easy peasy. Now, look, rests are the same way. If I had a whole rest here, okay, it's a 4 counter rest. If I put a dot beside that rest, it's a 6 count rest. If I had a half rest here, half, looks like a hat, that's a 2 count rest. If I put the dot beside it, it's a 3 count rest. Now, let's get on into the smaller values. This is a quarter note. It's worth 1. Now you're going to have to do a little bit of baby fractions. Okay? Don't be scared. There's my quarter rest. All right, so 1. If I put a dot beside it, I can do the note or the rest. Wow. What are we going to add? What is half of 1? If I have a pizza and I cut it in half, I have a half. So now we are into pieces of beats. It's okay. It happens all the time. So this is at now 1½ counts. That's a 1½ count rest. That's a 1½ count note. Yes. All right, so let's move on. It gets a little more complex. Let's do 8th notes or 8th rests. Now this is where students start to really get confused. Don't get confused. This is very basic math. Here's my 8th rest. Looks like a little funky 7, right? How much is an 8th rest or an 8th note worth? A half a beat. Right. Now, here we go. I'll do a little pie work for you. Let's do a little baby math. Here's a piece of pie, or you could do a pizza, a cake, whatever you want. All right, I'm going to just divide this guy into 4 pieces. All right, here we go. Right now, I have what? Half a beat, or half of a pizza, cake, pie, whatever you want. What is half of a half if I put a dot? Remember, half of its value, so half of a half. Well, what's half of a half? Well, there's 4 pieces here. It's 1 out of 4. So I'm going to add that 1 out of 4. Right? All I had was, I had 2 out of 4 for my half. Now I have 1/2 plus a fourth, which is what? 3/4. Okay? I added, with that dot, 1/2 of a half, which is a fourth. You double that bottom number in a fraction, remember, it cuts it in half. So 1/2 of a fourth is an eighth. 1/2 of an eighth is a 16th. It's real easy. But think about it like this, and there's your 3 out of 4. 3 out of 4 pieces of a beat. This guy is almost always followed by a 16th note because that's that other fourth of a beat. 16th note being fourth. Right? So dotted eighth or dotted eighth rest, note or rest, is worth 3/4 of a beat total. Ooh, now this gets even more complex when I go to the other little guy. I'll do it for you just for math purposes. Don't freak out. 16th. Oh boy. Here's my 16th rest. 2 flags. Oh yeah. Do my pi over here again. Now we're into even twice as small, so I'm going to have to divide this into 8 pieces, guys. Yeah, I know. 8 pieces. Here we go. How much is a 16th note or a 16th rest? You know this. It's a fourth of a beat. All right. So a fourth of a beat. It's right there. Right? There's a fourth. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 8 total pieces. So this is 2 out of 8. 2 out of 8 is what I got. Equals a fourth. That reduces to a fourth. A fourth, what's 1/2 of a fourth? Well, I just told you, if you double the bottom number, you half it. Just like I doubled the 2 to the 4. I double the 4. 1/2 of a fourth is an eighth. Now, how do you add those up? So I'm going to add 1 of these. I had 2 of these. I'm going to add 1. So now I have 1, 2, 3 out of 8. I have 3/8. Again, this is 2 over 8. 2 plus 1 is 3. You have to find that common denominator. This is the visual side of it. I have 8 pieces. I had 2 out of 8 or 1 out of 4. Now I have 3 out of 8. 3/8. So those dots add an eighth of a beat. Now we're getting to, that's pretty complex. We don't see those as much, but mathematically you need to know how to figure them out.